but they are agile, you know. The OneWheel+XR. Honestly, I'm not sure if they even call it the OneWheel+XR anymore, because there was a OneWheel Plus, and then they came out with the XR. I'm just going to call it the OneWheel+XR from here on out, or I might refer to it as just the board. For the first time ever, I'm reviewing something that isn't a firearm, law enforcement, or, other related kind of stuff. You did click the right link. You are on my channel. Hi, Sean Havoc here. I just kind of wanted to get these out so you guys knew more about them. I did a live stream of me riding mine, and a lot of you guys showed interest, so I kind of figured I would give you my 2 cents on this. There are lots of awesome one-wheel videos out there, don't get me wrong, but in my opinion, each and every one of them left out one piece of information or another that would have been really, really helpful in kind of dialing this whole situation in to begin with. Number one is gloves. Everyone talks about helmets, no one talks about gloves. Just like all of my motovlog videos, I cannot stress enough how important gloves are. The first thing to hit the ground when you fall, hopefully, is your hands and your palms. Helmets are obviously also a good idea if you're new to falling. Standing 6'7", I'm kind of an expert at it, and I take that risk. That's just me. I don't recommend you follow suit. Wear a helmet. So with cut up hands, I'm obviously not going to be much good at work. I'm not going to be chasing down, arresting a bloody criminal with open wounds. I'm not going to be digging through pockets with open wounds, etc. It's important to me that my hands remain kind of intact, and you know, open wounds on your hands are not something that is a good thing to have happen if you're dealing with sweaty, bloody criminals day in, day out. That's kind of, you know, what I do for work. So you will notice that there is not one, but there are two OneWheel+XRs sitting here. I have been skating for the better part of 25 years. I'm 32 years old now. Boarding has always kind of been, you know, something that I've always done. And I haven't really so much lately just because of work and again, the risk of getting hurt. And if I'm injured, I can't work. If I can't work, I can't make money. If I can't make money, I can't buy stuff to review for you guys, and well, you know, it's for you. Well, I let my wife give mine a try, thinking that she probably wouldn't be too into it. So you will notice there's not one, but there are two OneWheel+XRs sitting here. Why? Well, I bought mine first, thinking, okay, I'm gonna let my wife try it. So it showed up, and I played around with it, fell, had a fun day on it, but again, fell. And I let Whitney try mine, kind of explained to her the gist of things. She stood on it, and 7 miles and about an hour later, I got sick of chasing her through my neighborhood. Yeah, so the first time that she stepped foot on one, she didn't get off for 7 miles. So it is intuitive, it's really easy to learn, and it's a lot of fun. So that very next day, I ordered her hers, and the rest is history. So I mentioned that I skate, I mentioned that I surf, my wife also surfs, she also snowboards, I do not. I am terrible at snowboarding and I hate being cold. Snowboarding is a nightmare for me. Does the one wheel feel like... No, it doesn't. There are some aspects that carry over from surfing, snowboarding, skateboarding, but riding a one wheel feels like riding a one wheel. It would be advantageous if you had skated or snowboarded or surfed previously to understand, you know, just general body mechanics of leaning, but really not a necessary prerequisite. It's one of those things that this is very unique to itself and how it feels. So some things are similar. There are obviously things that you can do on a skateboard that you can't do on a one wheel and vice versa. Flip tricks obviously being the first thing that kind of stands out, but that said, I plan on being the innovator as soon as my pint shows up and being the first person, maybe not the first person, but one of the first few to land a flip trick on a one wheel. I'm going to make it happen. So one of my gripes with the other one wheel unboxing videos, things that people did not show you. First and foremost, you'll notice that I have a Fender on here, and that's because I did my live stream video when it was raining, and I didn't want my legs getting soaked. Otherwise, I actually prefer riding without the Fender. You know, it's kind of personal preference thing. You'll see most people riding them without. And if I'm being honest, getting gravel and stuff stuck inside of here is kind of a disconcerting sound, because the last thing that you want to have happen is the nose of your one wheel touching the ground. And as you're riding through trails, the sound of gravel inside of here sounds like you might be touching your nose on the ground. And if you do, that's how you fall. I have not and will not look up a montage video of people falling on one wheels, and I'm sure there's lots of them out there. It happened to me really, really quickly, and it happened to me really easily. That leads us to preset factory settings. So this is just my opinion, but on the app you can change your riding profile to be more aggressive, less aggressive, etc. And the ones that I found that I liked the most were the more carvable, the faster, more aggressive ones. But what they did was, as you're cruising and being aggressive, the nose of your board is pretty far forward. So what happened was I was looking at my phone going, holy crap, I'm doing 22 miles an hour up this hill, not really paying attention, and it was a steep hill, and the nose of my board was about at this angle. And I was looking at my phone, not paying attention to where the nose of my board was, and with the incline of the hill, you can guess what happened. I came to a complete stop at 22 miles an hour. I should say the board came to a complete stop at 22 miles an hour. I kept going. Another thing, as an RC hobbyist, that I will tell you guys, and this is going to be the worst part of unboxing your new toy, because you want to get out, you want to ride, you want to play, you want to have fun, but again, as an RC hobbyist, someone who deals with LiPo batteries and other different variants of batteries, you want to leave your board charging until that light turns green on your charger brick. But after that light turns green, do your best to resist. It's going to be hard, but do your best to resist and let it charge. Right now, you'll see that these are both charged, the lights are green, but what it's doing is it's actually balancing the cells in the battery. If you have balanced cells in your battery, when they discharge more evenly. That's going to lead to a longer life of your battery, and not only that, it's actually going to give you much more ride time out of your charges in the future if you treat your battery correctly. So next, you're going to notice that my board is like this urban gray, in my opinion, really, really cool color. Whitney's is this really cool olive drab green. This would have been my color, but she called dibs as soon as she saw it. She beat me to it. So what these are really thick pieces of plastic, stickers, essentially. And they're probably 2 or 3 millimeters thick, extremely sticky, good 3M tape on the underside of them. And if I was to peel mine off, you can see kind of the anodized blue right here. You would see blue and silver. And mine is blue and silver because the first day of riding, I didn't have any of this stuff on. And my first day of riding was the day of learning, the day of falling, the day of scraping into stuff, and just the overall day of essentially thrashing my board. So under my colorful rail protectors is a very scraped up, gouged $2,000 board. Under Whitney's, because I learned the lesson first, is a brand new pristine OneWheel+XR. If we were to upgrade to whatever OneWheel/Future Motion comes out with next, she could take all of her stickers off and it would look brand new. Mine, however, looks like it has years and years of abuse on it, but that's kind of my own fault. So hitting on this again, a smart thing to do is protect your investment when you first buy it. Get yourself a color kit. Not only does it look great, but on top of that, when you inevitably scrape into things or fall or flip, your board's going to be protected. And this stuff is really thick, and for 25 bucks, you're protecting a $2,000 investment. Very, very, very much worth it. The Fender kit, take it or leave it. If you live in Washington State and you want to ride in the rain or ride after a rain, it's going to be worth it to keep your thighs and legs kind of dry. For gravel, Whitney complained about getting nailed by gravel. I didn't mind it. That's going to bring us to another topic, and that's tire pressure. If you overinflate or underinflate, you're going to void your warranty. These are Vega tires. These are actual like professional go-karting tires. They are super robust, very, very high quality tires. And they will last you a long time. If you run them underinflated, they are not going to last as long as they should. But I found that me being 6'7", 200 pounds, I like a little less pressure in my tire because I like a little more grip. Whitney was fine with how hers came from the factory, so she just left it at that. For those of you who are wondering, I'm running mine at 18 PSI. They recommend 20, 2 PSI below. I don't think that's going to void my warranty, but if it does, it's not really a big deal because I don't see anything ever really going wrong with these. So next up, you're going to notice I have a completely different tail on mine than Whitney does on hers. Nope, it's not just different grip tape, it's actually a completely different tail altogether. This one, if you look from this angle, really doesn't have a ton of concave. Concave being a radius in the shape of a U, essentially, inside the deck. So on this one, you can see that it's a little more aggressive, got a little bit more going on there. This rear deck suits me a little bit better because all of my skateboards and my preference for skating is I love tons and tons of concave on my boards. Whitney, being a snowboarder slash surfer, didn't really care for mine, and she was completely comfortable with hers initially out of the box, as was I. It's just, I like something to be able to feel the tips of my toes grip on, and I like being able to have a reference point of my heel. So when my foot is on the board, you know, I can feel exactly where I'm at. It's kind of a mental comfort thing for me more than anything else, just knowing where I'm at on the board, not having to think about it. I can feel where I'm at. There's no guesses, and more importantly, there's no surprise. Alright, so I'm turning on my board, and you can see on the nose, we have a left side and a right side. These are two different sensor pads that are completely independent of one another, and you need to create contact between both of these to activate the one wheel. And to get off, you need to have only one portion of your foot touching one side or the other. So the hardest part of riding the one wheel is not mounting, it's getting off. And this is something that I suggest you do 100 times before you even go outside. Get used to this, because when it comes time to stop on concrete, it's a little more daunting. And I can promise you that if you're trying to just take your foot off and put your foot down, you're going to go sliding. The one wheel pint, the smaller, less expensive, albeit slower and less range, has what's called simple stop, where you would just very simply pretend that I went up, lean back, you come to a stop. Why they didn't incorporate that into the XR, I cannot begin to fathom. It would have been a great place to learn, and on top of that, I have a whole bunch of neighbor kids that want to try mine, and like, of course I'm cool sharing the experience and I want everyone to know about these things, but at the same time, this not having simple stop is a little scary for me to be like, hey, 11-year-old Timmy, go ahead and try this, just make really sure, you know, that you come back to me in one piece and I'll help you get off first, or try and explain how it works. And it's not as simple as, you know, you just lean back and come to a stop. So for me, it's worth it getting the pint just so I can share the experience of the one wheel with everyone and explain to them, hey, just lean back and you'll come to a stop. Simple as that. The fact that the XR lacks this simple stop is the only reason I haven't shared this with tons of people. It seems like a function that they should be able to incorporate into the XR, but they haven't done it yet. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. Rear foot goes on, and don't worry, you can readjust your foot later, just like on a skateboard. Okay? Now the board has sensed that my feet are crossing this plane right here, and both feet are on the pressure pad. You hear the one wheel has activated. Now I can lean back, I can lean forward, but what I can't do is lean all the way back, because it just shoots me in the opposite direction. So, coming to a stop, and I still have yet to really master this, you have to be perfectly balanced, which in and of itself really isn't that hard unless you're new at this, and then it becomes quite the chore. Now, lift one, and you're back down. So again, both feet across both contact pads. You hear the motor kick in. We can go forward, we can go back. Now, you have to be going under 1 mile an hour, perfectly balanced. And again, if you're new to skateboarding, or new to any kind of board sport, This isn't going to feel supernatural, but let's see if I can get myself in focus here. So coming to a stop essentially, lifting up for the motor kick off, now you can safely dismount. This is something that you should practice as many times as conceivably possible before you go out and cruise anywhere, because getting it down inside your house where you can fall on your carpet is a lot better than doing it in front of a whole bunch of people like, hey, check out my new toy, and then you try and do this and you end up on your butt. So again, coming to a stop, find that perfect balance point. And again, these tires are big, but they are agile, you know. So right there, case in point, hit my couch. I was looking at the viewfinder on the camera. So it pays to pay attention. So again, coming to a stop, note where that line is. And you can hear it and you can feel it click off. Practice, practice, practice. Alright, gigantic hill. So I'm going as fast as I can up this without my tires slipping. But I'm still doing probably, actually let me check my app, 11 miles an hour right now. 8, 7, 8, 5. But that's because I didn't know how big that rock right there was. So let's cruise back through this. There's big old rocks, gravel, construction companies that probably don't want me doing this. Here we are, back on the street and back home. So that little session was 2.8 miles, only dropped me down to 80%. Hit a top speed of 17.5, I was taking it pretty easy. You can see that I am plugged in and charging.